Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Level Up My Life podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking about medication, specifically mental health medication for things like anxiety and depression. I'm going to discuss my experience with medication and why you may or may not want to consider seeking a prescription on your mental health journey. As always, this is not professional medical advice, and it is not intended to be taken as such. This is just me talking from my own experience, and at the end, I'll share some scientifically backed information from a research study. Let's get into it. So, if I'm being perfectly honest, I used to have a really toxic mindset when it came to mental health medication. When I was young, I saw it as weak if you took medication to improve your mental health. I thought that if you just took medication to make your problems go away, that you were taking the easy way out. In all fairness, I still think that it's better to combine therapy and medication rather than only take medication, but I no longer think that somebody's weak or a coward or anything for taking mental health medication, and that's in large part thanks to my own experience. So, as you all know, I started therapy for the first time in 2019 and have been going back on and off with different therapists as needed. However, it wasn't until 2023 that I even considered taking medication. At the time, I didn't think of others as being weak for taking mental health medication, but I would see myself as weak if I ever took medication. I felt that taking medication meant that I wasn't strong enough to deal with my problems just through therapy. What I hadn't fully internalized at that point was that, yes, life experiences contribute to mental health issues, but so do chemical imbalances in the brain. I'm not entirely sure anymore what the real turning point was for me with my view of taking medication. If I recall correctly, I think I had a really rough time in about February or March of 2023 and just wasn't coping as well with everything as I wanted to. It wasn't until May that I decided to seek out therapy again. Then, once I was in therapy, my therapist suggested medication. I ultimately decided to give it a shot and, honestly, I haven't looked back. Finding the right mental health medication can be a struggle. I started off with propranolol, which is a beta blocker and lowers blood pressure. I already naturally have low blood pressure, so taking the propranolol meant that I felt dizzy and like I might pass out at any point. That obviously didn't work for me. It did reduce my anxiety, but it made me so loopy and unstable that it wasn't a feasible option for regular anti-anxiety use. After a few months, I tried escitalopram, an SSRI, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which is more commonly known as Lexapro, and this is the anxiety medication that I take currently. The day that I took my first dose was slightly insane. Usually they say that it takes about 2 weeks for you to start noticing the effects of the medication. However, I was apparently so serotonin starved that even the lowest prescribable dose made me giddy, giggly, and just over the moon for no clear reason. The day that I first took the medication, I felt the happiest I had in possibly my entire life. My baseline level of happiness was way higher than I think it has ever been in my life. I've only ever felt that happy on special occasions or really good days. However, along with that strange euphoria, I also had headaches and other health complications, including a mild case of serotonin syndrome. I was worried that although this seemed like a great medication, it might not be the one for me. And I really didn't want to lose that ecstatic feeling that I'd missed for most of my life. My prescriber suggested starting out with half the dose and then gradually building up to the full but low dose that they had originally prescribed. This ended up working far better. I didn't end up with the strange and delightful euphoria I had the first time around, but I've noticed that my baseline mood is generally more positive and I don't experience as dramatic emotional swings as I used to. Now, it's important to note that I was also working really hard in therapy to get to the bottom of my issues. I was doing trauma therapy and continuing to dive deep and work on myself outside of sessions. But medication filled the gap that therapy never could. It gave me the boost of serotonin I was apparently missing and helped me to better regulate my emotions. I should also share that this medication was not a cure-all. I had to keep working on myself in therapy, and even now I still have bad days. I've still gotten depressed at times or had to fight off panic attacks. The difference is that the combination of medication and therapy means that I handle the worst moments better than I used to, and I bounce back faster. If you think you could benefit from mental health medication, talk with your PCP, primary care provider, or a psychiatrist, as they will be able to help you determine the best medication for you. When you go to talk with them, it's important to mention any family history with mental health medication, including adverse reactions and what worked best for them. It may take considerable trial and error, but once you've found the right medication for you, it should massively improve your life. In case you need any more convincing, studies have found that the combination of therapy and the right medication had the greatest effect on improving mental health outcomes when compared with other forms of treatment. Additionally, if you really want to level up your mental health, consider implementing regular exercise or physical activity into your routine. A 2008 meta-analysis by Whipfley et al. Found that exercise had the greatest effect on reducing anxiety more than cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, and stress management training. Exercise came second only to medication. I hope this episode taught you something new and maybe even changed your perspective on mental health medication for the better. In the next episode, I'll be discussing what I do now on a regular basis to maintain and protect my mental health. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you all in the next episode of Level Up My Life. Sending you all the good vibes.